Hello, everybody. Arthur King here. Let's go ahead and talk about taking our 5 poses of our character that is on our character lineup page, and we're going to go ahead and break these apart to create our character spin. Now, I have started off with a brand new Adobe Animate file, and you see I have it set to Animator, and I have imported my character onto the stage. Now, one of the things that I want to go ahead and do to start with is I want to make sure that my characters are set to about a third of the stage. So I'm going to put them in the middle third. So I'm going to go ahead using my free transform tool right here and go over to one of my points here on the 4 corners. Hold the shift key to lock the proportion so it doesn't become skewed. And make sure we're just about the right size. That looks pretty good right there, fairly close to about a third of the way. There's above it, down below, and right in the midpoint here are my characters. Now, with my characters set up like this, I need to go ahead and break them apart so that I can begin the animation process. So what I need to do is, after having them onto the artboard, I need to go and break them apart. So I'm going to go to Modify and Break Apart. So again, with them selected, they have the box on them. I go to Modify and Break Apart. Click on that one. Boom. Now they're broken up into sections. You can see that it's pixelated. So now I can go ahead and cut them apart. So that being said, I can go ahead here and pull a little bit here. I got a little bit of glitch there. I'm kind of cleaning up right there. Let me go ahead now and zoom in and check that. Sometimes you might have a little bit of something in there. Nope, nothing there. Okay, good. So again, go ahead, I'm going to move this around and I'm going to go ahead and cut it up. So first thing I'm going to do is using my free transform tool, I'm just going to go ahead and left click and drag a little box around my first character. You notice how he's all pixelated, he's highlighted. I'm going to cut him apart by going Command G. That's going to group it. So it locks everything within that bounding box in that space. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to move it directly down. Okay. Now let's click off to the side here and I'm going to go do the same thing on the next one here. Note that for each one of these times I select my figures, the free transform tool is selected. So I'm going to left click and drag a box around the next one, and then Command G, move this one down, then click off to the side and come back in, select it, Command G, drag down, let's go ahead and click off to the side. When I click off to the side, it's because I'm deselecting the one that I was selected from just before. You'll note that here when I left click and drag, pull this down, notice that this one is still highlighted, but I'm able to unhighlight this one so that I can actually then go back and work on this character. I had to click off to the side with a left click. There we are. Now left click and drag one more and Command G to lock him up. Oops, I grabbed the anchor point. Don't want to do that. Grab the figure. There we are. All right, so I have all 5 of my characters pulled off of the stage. They're all separately divided up. And so I'm now going to go ahead and do, there they are down there, is that I need to go ahead and open up the ruler tool. And the ruler is what we're going to use to put on the stage here so that we can make sure that when we do start copying and pasting our characters forward in time, that every character lines up exactly where we need them to be. So I'm going to go ahead and go to View and Rulers. That's View and Rulers. Left click, I go ahead and click on that one. You'll notice that it opens up the rulers. The ruler is a horizontal line above the stage and a vertical line. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to left click and hold the left click and drag down, and there's a line coming down. I'm going to go about a third of the way or so down from the bottom, and we're about there. Okay. Now I'm going to go over to the vertical ruler, left click and drag a line right to the center. Leave it there. Now I'm going to go up to my first character. So over here, to click on him once and drag him up and put his feet so they sit right there on the line, right? His feet are sitting right there on the line. And I adjust him so the center of his body is inside there. So you can ignore what's happening out here. It's the center point of the body that we need to make sure of that we've got on the vertical axis line. All right, now we need to go ahead and move forward in time. So I need to go ahead and insert another blank keyframe. So I'm going to select this one and go ahead and hit my F5 key, and that brings in a blank, extends that frame out, And then I'm going to go ahead and say insert blank keyframe, timeline, blank keyframe. Boop, and there's a blank keyframe. Now everything's gone. Don't panic. It's because everything is sitting one frame in the past. So I click back over here. There they all are. Now I need to select frame number 2. So actually 2 things. I've got this little bit of gray here left over from when I was cripping out my images that I need to get rid of. And then I need to go ahead and select frame number 2. So I'm going to click off to the side. And then with my arrow tool selected, I'm going to go ahead and left click and drag a line that goes, there it is. Delete that little bit of, it should say visual noise, get rid of that. Now I'm going to go down to the character, and I click on the character, and I'm going to go control and click on there, and or edit, and copy it. So I'm going to copy that character, okay? Now I go to the blank notch on the timeline, the blank page, and then I can go ahead and I can left click and hit paste in center. Okay, that's going to bring him up. Now let's go ahead and bring him up here, and I'll position him so the center of his body, and I'm using the arrow keys on the keyboard, center of his body is right there. And when I say center of the body, I'm looking at the overall distance from the center point here to the outside of the body on the left, in this case the foot here, and on the right side I'm looking at the distance of the shirt to the center, because that's the widest point from the center, the shirt to the center from the toe to the center. That looks pretty good right there. So now let's go back, do it again. So I go to the back to the top here, and I'm going to go ahead and click on there, and I'm going to insert another blank keyframe. Okay. Now brand again, don't panic, everything's there. Here's frame 2, here's frame 1. We see all the other guys in there. So again, we need to go back and select frame number 3. So I'm going to click off to the side, go down to object number 3 there, and then I'm going to go ahead and left click, and I'm going to go ahead and go with copy. So I'm copying again. Click off to the side to deselect, and then go up to the blank space, that blank space I just created, and I'm going to go ahead and I can go control and left click and say paste in center. Okay, moves it up, and now I've got myself right on the center line here. And again, adjusting him, trying to find that overall distance from front to back of the character. Looks pretty good. Now I'm going to go right here, and I'm going to click again, control, and insert another blank keyframe. And then I go back to the first frame, click off to the side, and I grab my 3/4 back pose. And again, I'm going to go ahead and control, and I'm going to copy it, and go to the space above here, and I'll go ahead and go control and paste in center. And it's going to bring it up. And again, I put my character there right about looking at the center of the distribution of weight on the character from the front toe to the here, and it looks like from the back of the shirt on this one to there. That looks pretty good distance-wise. Let's go ahead and put our next one in here, which is our back view. So again, I'm going to go ahead and insert a blank keyframe, and then I go back to the first one, click off to the side, and select my back view. And then I'm going to go ahead and left click on it, and I'm going to go ahead and copy it. Then I go to the blank notch, and I go in and I paste in center. All right, so there's my character. Get him up on that line. He's there, and center him. Make sure he's sitting on there, and it looks pretty good there in terms of the character. Let's go right now, and I'm going to go ahead and just test it by grabbing the red scrub bar above the timeline and drag back and forth. And there he is. Look at that. I'm rotating. There we go, and the character feels pretty lined up. All right, so this is good. So now what I need to do is I need to finish the rotation. So to do so now, I need to start copying and pasting in reverse. I don't need to go back to the first page or the first keyframe anymore and keep copying and pasting those, because now I've already got my images onto the artboard. They're already in place. So I'm going to go back and rework back this way. So now I did frame 5, which is all the way back. Now I'm going to do frame 4, and I'm going to turn it into frame 6. So here it goes. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Control, and I'm going to say Copy Frame. Then I go to the next spot in the timeline, Control, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit Paste Frame. There, I pasted it in. Once I have it there, though, I need to go back into this. I need to go to Modify, Transform, Flip Horizontal. Watch, I'll do that. Modify, Transform, Flip Horizontal. And I'll click it. 1, 2, 3. See, he's facing the other way now, which is what we want. So now I just have to go ahead and adjust his body mass so that he seems like he's fairly evenly distributed. Now, this was frame 6, so I did 4 becomes 6, so 3 becomes 8. So I go to frame 3, right? And now I'm going to go ahead and control, and I'm going to left click, and I'm going to say copy frame again. This time I go to, here we go, the number 8 spot here, and I'm going to go to control and left click, and I'm going to say paste frame. Okay, there it is, and I click over to it. There we are. But again, I need to flip him. So modify, transform, flip horizontal. And there we go. And again, I just need to move that body mass forward. All right, there we go. And now we got the last one of all, which is going to be the 3/4 front. So I need to go back over to frame number 2, right? And I'm going to go ahead and control and left click, and I'm going to copy that frame. Go over to frame here and go to control, click, and paste frame. Okay, then I go click on the timeline here to go to that frame. Now I need to flip it horizontally one more time. Flip and transform, flip horizontal. And then again, I just use the arrows on my keyboard. And again, the reason I don't use the mouse to drag it, because sometimes with the mouse you can make a mistake and accidentally go up or down with it, and then you're readjusting your character based on its placement, and that really just takes a lot of time. So now if we look at this, and I'll go forward here one frame at a time. So we have our front 3/4, 3/4 front, profile, 3/4 back, back. Then we have, now remember now, these are copied, pasted in reverse. There's my 3/4 back facing the other way, 3/4 profile the other direction. Or excuse me, that was the profile, and this is 3/4. Now the reason I don't have the first frame on here is because it loops back to the beginning, just for testing. So if I want to go ahead and play this and test it, I'm going to hit this guy right here, which is my loop button. And then notice my brackets came up. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit the play button. I'm spinning. There we go. I've got my character. I am spinning in place. I'm all lined up. But wow, I'm super fast. I got to slow him down. So I'm going to click off to the side here on the timeline just to stop him. And on each one of these frames, I'm going to extend each frame out by 1. So instead of animating on 1s, I'm going to animate on 2s. Okay, so with my first keyframe selected, hit F5, go to the next one, F5, F5. And as you all remember, F5 extends a keyframe. It's not making a copy of it, it's just extending it out along the timeline. Now I've basically got each of those keyframes extended out by 1. Now I'm going to take this little bracket box here, which is my playback window for repeat, and I'm going to go ahead and hit the play button, and we'll test it again. This time you watch, it'll be half the speed. See, it's slowed down considerably, which looks really good. But let's say I want to go ahead and slow it down one more time. So click on that timeline again and hit F5. Oops, one time too many. Shift F5 to bring it back. Okay, so I want F5, and then I'm going to just select this one out again. And this one. And you can do that for every single one of them. Click on the keyframe, and then hit the F5 key. And then I can stretch this out. Now we're animating on 3s. So let's go ahead and test it and hit the play button. There we go. Now I'm rotating at a nice speed. It looks all good. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit here. There I am. Look at that. I'm spinning around. You can see my body looks three-dimensional. My chin going forwards and backwards. Got my feet, everything else lined up. I'm pulling around here, which is great. Now, this is what I need you to do for yours. You're going to be doing the exact same thing on yours. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and Command minus to pull back. I'm going to pause this. You need to do one more thing before you export this into a test movie. Remember, we have to have a white layer underneath here. So I'm going to select here and open up my new layer. Left click and drag and put it below. Click on that first keyframe. And then I go over to my rectangle tool and make sure my fill is set on white. And that's set for white. And then I'm going to go ahead and back to my rectangle and click and drag a box. And there we are. There's my box around, and I am all set. So now when I can control and test scene, I've got a nicely spinning character that is all set, ready to go. All right, the next step will be recoloring. But now you know how to go ahead and put your character in for a character spin. Let's get it done.